That's really, really good. That means I can now reveal to you in the next few minutes exactly what happened in the courtroom, exactly what was said back and forth legally, and we can go into that a little bit, which is really good. This is what happens when a press ban is lifted. It means that you can talk about what actually went on in the case. Tommy's public endorsement of what we want to do on the 9th that's coming up this month, right outside Downing Street. As I said, where we did Day for Freedom, we want to get as many people there as possible. I'm still going to be working with people who can perhaps be speaking, but we just want to have the biggest show of basically force and support of Tommy that's ever happened in Britain. So that's going to go ahead. That's the first time it's been mentioned, and yeah, it's under Tommy's approval. It's what he wants to. It's what he wants to go ahead with.
When Harrison Smith shot outside 10 Downing Street yesterday, there was a reporting ban when our good friend Kaylin Robertson joined us, really the right-hand man and the manager of Tommy. That's why Tommy's been so much more effective. He's had good support the last year and a half. I mean, who knows if he'll get arrested for when he came on Sunday. But I'm told, we're going to break here in a moment, my friend, but I'm told, Kaylin, that the reporting ban has now been lifted. Looks like this blew up in their face.
It just has been lifted. I believe it was from massive pressure from a couple of local newspapers actually demanded that it was removed, which means it wasn't really properly standing in the first place if it was able to be taken away just with that little amount of pressure. So that's really, really good. That means I can now reveal to you in the next few minutes exactly what happened in the courtroom, exactly what was said back and forth legally, and we can go into that a little bit, which is really good. Yeah, it's very good news.
Wow, I didn't realize you can now tell folks what really happened in the courtroom. This is going to be an exclusive then.
Well, I assume I can. Look, this is what happens when a press ban is lifted. It means that you can talk about what actually went on in the case. You can't talk about the case with the grooming scandal. That still has a press restriction. But you can talk about what happened here. So I have some notes. Obviously, I didn't bring a pen and paper in the courtroom with me because it was such a short notice, which is what they really wanted. But I've written down what I remember. So. All
right, Kaylin Robertson, I am blown away that we're getting the first look at this information. I know you were even scared to tell me privately over the phone and Skype in the weekend what was happening, though you told me some in confidence, but I didn't repeat it, obviously, because I couldn't. But now we're going to find out, the public's going to find out what happened in that courtroom when he was sent away for 13 months for daring to just say that there was a Muslim grooming case going on, period. The Tommy Robinson firestorm continues on the other side. Stay with us. Kaylin Robertson, who is the camera guy, the webmaster, really the manager of Tommy Robinson, who in the last year and a half has helped him really get his message out stronger, is joining us. He just met with Tommy's wife, who's extremely private. They've now just lifted the gag order on Tommy's arrest, nationwide order that the media not cover it. Think of how draconian that is. We've never seen anything like this. It's totally woken up England. There's demonstrations all over the world. This is huge. And so he's going to be able to now give you, because this just got lifted a few minutes ago, the first reportage on what happened at the sentencing for 13 months of Tommy Robinson. He wrote notes inside of the courtroom. So again, Kaylin Robertson, please break it down.
Right, so I only have some of the really significant points in here. I actually didn't manage to take notes of every single thing that was said in the courtroom, but these are the most significant things. So the number one most important thing, which actually caused a little bit of a gasp in the room from a couple of the press, was when the judge actually admits that he hadn't watched the full live stream of Tommy talking. He'd only watched a very, very brief moment of it before he made up his mind, which is really significant because that's at the center of this whole case. He hasn't even watched the full thing. He hasn't even just, looked at what Tommy actually said. It was just a couple of out of context seconds. And that's really, really, really critical, really significant. It seems that he just made up his mind before any of this even started. So that's I would say that's the most significant thing that happened there. The second is that it was acknowledged in the courtroom by Tommy's the appointed, lawyer, not his official lawyer, because we didn't have time to put that into place, but the one that they gave him from the state, that if he goes to jail, it's extremely likely that he won't survive. He said he's had 6 very, very credible threats on his life where the police have had to actually remove him from a situation where they've had someone like, Al-Qaeda or a very, very serious group having a terrorist attack on him. He said he's one of the most high-profile targets in the UK. And if he goes to jail, it's a very, very high likelihood that he's not going to survive. And the judge didn't seem to really be bothered about it. But it was acknowledged in the courtroom. He didn't really respond to it. He sort of said, oh, well, That's it. He said that freedom of speech comes with consequences. That was probably one of the opening statements of what he said. He repeated it a couple more times. And he acknowledged that Tommy's suspended sentence, obviously Tommy was on a suspended sentence from a previous thing last year. The judge said that he would have done this and given the same sentence to Tommy that he did a few days ago, regardless of that suspended sentence. He basically said it was irrelevant. It had nothing to do with it. So everybody who's saying, oh, well, of course he's being put to jail, he's on a suspended sentence, it's actually irrelevant in this case. The judge didn't really seem to be bothered about it. So those were the key points that I managed to note down from the room. Everything, it was such a short trial, there wasn't really much else mentioned. It was sort of in and out, bit of a kangaroo court type thing. So those are the main points.
Kaylin, I am rarely speechless, as everyone knows. My head is spinning as I look at these notes. He said, this is the consequence of your free speech. So a direct attack on the Magna Carta, you name it. And then said, this has nothing to do with your suspended sentence for covering another trial. I'm putting you in prison for this. And so, wow, how long did he then sentence him? We've heard 13 months. This is just mind-blowing.
Yeah, I can confirm it was 13 months. I know they did say that there's a chance that it could be reduced to, I think, half of that on good behavior. That's standard practice. So, you know, if that goes out throughout, you know, if he survives, if we don't get him out earlier, it would be around 6.5 months on good behavior. But the actual sentence is 13 months.
And let's be clear. He was attacked many times when he spent a year in prison. He was attacked when he was in for a few months last year. We showed news articles about that. A man that put a piece of bacon by a mosque, he was killed within a week of being in jail. Everybody else that criticizes Islam gets stabbed. So there's the headline. Bacon on mosque offender dies in prison. The death penalty for putting a piece of bacon by the mosque. It actually wasn't even on the mosque. So they know exactly what they're doing. I'm also told that the judge was laughing and enjoying himself when the lawyer for Tommy, the barrister, the solicitor, brought up the fact that it'll be a death sentence if he's in jail, that the judge just didn't care.
I can't confirm if he was laughing, enjoying himself at the same time when he said that. I think that was a mix-up of reports of when he was sort of smirking through the window, which was earlier, looking down when we were outside. But he didn't really acknowledge it when the lawyer said that it's very likely he could die in jail. He's had really serious threats on his life. So
you're saying the same judge, because this has all been secret until 5 minutes ago, the same judge is the one that sentenced him?
The one who was in the window that we took a picture of is the same person.
So the judge running the grooming trial,
yeah,
is the one that also imprisoned the reporter for standing on the street. Wow, judge, jury, and executioner. This is mega city. This is Judge Dredd.
Yeah, well, it's a really, really bizarre situation. It's a really, really bizarre case. I don't have full notes into the very...
Let me tell you, you're doing an incredible job, Kaylin Robertson. I want to go to break and come back in about 3 minutes, but talk about, I know she's a very private lady, how Tommy's wife's doing, how the children are doing. I know there's a fatwa out, a Muslim hit on them for years, but I mean, how she's taking it, because you met with her today.
Yeah, well, obviously I don't want to go into his family's life too much because they're very private people, like you've acknowledged. But they're obviously very upset by it. But they're being very strong. That they're dealing with it in the best way possible. They're just doing the same thing that we're doing right now, which is going down the legal battle, which is getting the best people we can to represent him, which is going down that route. So yeah, that's what they're doing right now.
And that's why you've got TommyRobinsonOnline.com. I've talked to you privately. I'll just say it. There's enough for part of the legal battle. Very expensive to get good barristers, good legal counsel in England, even more expensive than the U.S. We're talking about 10,000 pounds a day or so when they're in court, tens of thousands in preparations, and the family obviously needs your support. So TommyRobinsonOnline.com, InfoWarsStore.com is how you support us. We've also been supporting Tommy. I'm going to make another donation myself tomorrow, but when you fund us, we become an institution, try to fund Project Veritas, what Tommy's doing, and so many others with no strings attached. That's how we've done it. So we've got a lot of specials at InfoWarsStore.com, like Brain Force Plus, the amazing nootropic, 50% off, and you know. They've got Soros-backed groups and Hillary-backed lawyers that are direct lawyers for Hillary suing me all over the place. As fast as we throw them out, they file new ones. But the group that sued Remington into bankruptcy, they lost the case, but the same group is now suing me in Connecticut. So I'm not whining. I came to this fight to take on the globalist, but they are in full gear against everybody that stands up for the truth. Donald Trump, myself, Roger Stone, Infowars.com. They have come after my family. They've tried to take my children away. You've seen it all in the news. I'm not complaining. I'm just saying, if you support us, you pray for us, you back us, we will stand. We will not be defeated. But pray about it, decide who you want to support in this fight. I just know that behind the scenes, I've funded now hundreds of thousands in the child rescue groups here in the U.S., and we've had big successes with that because I just morally had to do it. God put it on my heart. I've funded what Tommy's doing. I've funded what Veritas is doing. And I'm trying to fund more things. And they know I'm doing that, so they're really pissed at me because I'm like a super baby Soros. You know, I've only given out probably $1 million over the years to groups fighting tyranny. And, you know, I haven't given out $50 billion like Soros because I don't have the money. And I just want to take the money we get here from you to just maximize our fight back against them. Nationwide, worldwide protest. We're going to break down some final points with Kaylin Robertson straight ahead. Kaylin Robertson is Tommy Robinson's manager, an amazing researcher, camera person, got kicked out of university for just mildly criticizing Islam a few years ago and is now on the front lines of the fight in the last year and a half with Tommy. Tommy is a world-famous political prisoner of the West now, and you just got the exclusive on what happened at the 30-minute trial and sentencing, not for his previous suspended sentence. The judge said no for what you've done. Incredible. And then during the break, he gave us the latest, talking to Tommy this morning while he was there with his wife. And so you're going to hear the latest from Tommy directly from Kaylin about this big demonstration that Tommy wants to happen on June 9th. This is the exclusive directly from Tommy's manager. So Kaylin, lay this out for us.
Well, we can only get very, very tiny snippets of information from Tommy each day, very, very, tiny number of seconds. But this morning, we actually made contact, and we wanted to see if he wanted to still go ahead with us, working with these demonstrations and actually pulling something together. And he said, why don't you do it on the 9th? I fully support that. Do it outside Downing Street. Do it where we did Day for Freedom. Go ahead. So that's Tommy's public endorsement of what we want to do on the 9th. The 9th that's coming up this month, right outside Downing Street. As I said, where we did Day for Freedom, we want to get as many people there as possible. I'm still going to be working with people who can perhaps be speaking, but we just want to have the biggest show of basically force and support of Tommy that's ever happened in Britain. So so that's going to go ahead. That's the first time it's been mentioned, and yeah, it's under Tommy's approval. It's what he wants to. It's what he wants to go ahead with.
Very, very historic. I know his wife's very, very private. When I've been talking to Tommy and stuff, I've only talked to her a few times. I know that the last times he's been thrown in prison for standing up for little children that are being kidnapped and raped en masse, that his children were small enough to not really know what happened to Daddy, but now they are. Can you just repeat any of what you told me off air?
Yeah, I wouldn't really want to go into too much detail about Tommy's personal family. They're very, it's very, very separate. But obviously, it's a really, really tough situation. The last time they did this, the last time the tyrannical government decided to pull him away and take him away and harass him, his children were very, very young, and they didn't even realize that what was really sort of going on. And now that they're at an age where they're sort of trying to be able to comprehend this, it's even more sort of traumatic. It's even more difficult. It's a lot more pressure for his wife, and it's really, really sort of heartbreaking seeing her go through all this. Obviously, she's still keeping positive, focused on the legal process. There's still a huge amount of donations which are coming in, which are going to be supporting that, and that's giving her hope. But internally, it's a huge, huge burden to deal with. This is probably the most difficult time now compared to all the other ones that have sort of happened in the past.
And that's because,
like that.
And that's because, correct me if I'm wrong, most people that criticize Islam that are activists that get put in prison either get killed or close to killed.
Well, look what happened with the man who threw the bacon sandwich outside a mosque, or who left one there, and he died in prison, murdered in prison. We have cases like that up and down the country. Really, really scary. A lot of these judges and a lot of our politicians know that if you jail somebody for criticizing Islam, you're not just putting them away for a few months, you're giving them a life sentence. You're actually giving them the death sentence. It's how you can sweep people away and get rid of them. And it's obviously a major, major worry. We've already obviously acknowledged yesterday that if something like that ever happened happened, that this country would completely erupt. It would probably be turned to rubble. People wouldn't take it. They absolutely wouldn't. It would be completely catastrophic, and I hope they do realize that. But yeah, it's extremely worrying.
Amazing, my friend. You have been there when the Antifa attacks you guys 10 to 1. You have been there through the demonization, the lies. Just a minute or two on what it's like your last year and a half with Tommy Robinson on the front lines of the Islamic invasion.
Well, it's been a roller coaster. It was absolutely intense. The support has been completely unreal. When I first met Tommy, I thought he was sort of the most hated man in Britain. I thought it was only a couple of thousand people that might actually be supporting him, given by the fact I only knew what was going on about him from the press, which would have you believe that. But it was absolutely incredible going up and down and seeing people shake his hand from universities, from upper class, middle class, working class neighborhoods. It was really, really overwhelming, but obviously incredibly stressful as well. There's video footage of us getting into Muslim no-go zones up and down the UK, where we went to go to a Muslim MP's house who had defended a grooming gang, and then loads of Muslim men in cars kind of drove around and bumped into our car and smashed all the windows. There was obviously extreme violence we witnessed, and all of my worst fears about the UK had been confirmed in those sort of 8 months of working with him. But we just didn't expect this to happen. We didn't expect this to ever happen again. We kind of thought there might have even been a bit more of an immunity now because of the internet and because of his massive profile. He's gone from sort of here to right to the top, and we thought it would never ever happen again. But yeah, it's been very, very overwhelming. But also, it's actually been, excluding this case, quite a positive thing. Seeing how all the incredible projects he's been doing has been sort of waking the country up. It's just such a shame what's happened recently. But when he does get out, and we believe that we can fight this and do that, he's not going to be deterred. Speaking to him earlier on today, he's still standing strong, he's still standing positive, and he's going to come out guns blazing as soon as it's done, going at 100 miles an hour, and going to carry on doing everything he was doing before.
Amazing. All right. Well, we'll be talking to you today, tomorrow, checking in. I know Harrison Smith's going to be hooking up with you very, very soon. He and the camera lady he's with. So, again, thank you so much. We really appreciate what you're doing. Again, that is Kalen with a C. Kalen Rob on Twitter. Everybody should follow you there as well. That's Kalen Rob, one word, Kalen Rob. There it is on screen for TV viewers. This has been a major breaking news on the 9th protest that Tommy's calling for from prison. And the even bigger news, the exclusive, now that the notice has been raised on what happened in his sentencing, the judge saying you're giving 13 months, not for last time, for this. I'm sending you to prison. So, Kalen, thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.
There goes Kalen. Thank you. Godspeed and be safe. Wow, this has really caught the world's eye. Demonstrations all over Australia, now in the U.S., in Germany. Gert Wilder's coming out saying this is tyranny, going to the British Embassy at The Hague. German members of parliament going public, offering him asylum. This is Chinese communist level control in the UK.
You know, someone very profoundly once said many years ago that if fascism ever comes to America, it'll come in the name of liberalism.
He goes to jail. He goes to jail. Lock him up.
If you are receiving this transmission, you are the resistance.